What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and today I'm bringing to you my Gem Knight test hands video. This is going to be going through showing you a couple test hands where we're going to be going second for the first two, just showing you the OTK potential that this deck actually has with how it operates and functions. Then we're going to be having our final hand where we're going first to show you what kind of board you can set up to really interact with your opponent. This deck has a lot of capability of really just beating over and doing a lot of damage and being a great OTK option for those that want to really just play the game and just focus on an aggressive play style. Let's go ahead and hop right in to our first test hand going second so I can show you what I mean. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle up. And then we start out with Gem Knight Dispersion, Gem Armadillo, Infinite Impermanence, Scatter Fusion, Triple Tactics Thrust, and then finally, another Infinite Impermanence. So, right off the bat, since we control no cards in our hand, or on our board at this time, we could have dropped 2 Infinite Impermanence during our opponent's turn to really just interact, well, 1 Infinite Impermanence during our opponent's turn because we drew into this last one, but we could still interrupt at least one play. We'll go ahead and say that has happened. If not, we have another one for later on. But the main thing that we want to do right now is, since your opponent controls a monster, we'll go ahead and activate Scatter Fusion. You can fusion summon one non-rock Gem Knight monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your deck as material. Also cannot special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Gem Knight monsters. In this case, what we're wanting to really go into is, there's a couple we can go into, which would be our Gem Knight Seraphonite or our Gem Knight Lady Rose Diamond. In this case, I think it would probably be best to go into our Gem Knight Seraphonite so we get an additional normal summon to further our plays. So what we'll go ahead and do is send our Gem Knight Quartz and we'll go ahead and send our Gem Knight Nephirim to go directly into our Gem Knight Seraphonite. The fun fact is that you can utilize this effect of Gem Knight Quartz. If this card is used as a fusion summon and sent to the graveyard banished, you can add one Gem Knight monster from your graveyard to your hand except Gem Knight Quartz. So we get to add Nephirim back to our hand. And then, if this card is sent from hand or deck to the graveyard, you can send one card from your hand. If you do, special summon this card. But we're not going to use that effect just yet because we still want to utilize some of the other cards we have. So we're going to add Nephirim back to our hand. Then we'll go ahead and normal summon Gem Armadillo, allowing us to add one Gem Knight monster from our deck to our hand. In this case, we're going to go ahead and grab us where it is, Gem Knight Hollow Core. We'll go ahead and then special summon the Hollow Core by sending a Gem Knight Fusion from our deck to the graveyard. Then what we can do next is go ahead and take Gem Armadillo and Gem Knight Hollow Core and go directly into our Phantom Quartz. Phantom Quartz effect will then get us another Gem Knight card that we can utilize for now. Right now, we're wanting to go ahead and grab us a Gem Knight. Well, don't really need the Gem Knight Fusion is the thing, because we've already gone through that. We have it live in our graveyard. So, in this case, our best option would probably be a Gem Knight Quartz. We'll next go ahead, since we still have that additional normal summon Gem Knight Nephirim. When it is normal or special summon, add one Gem Knight card from your deck to your hand except Nephirim. Also, any effect damage your opponent takes during the main phase is halved. That's perfectly fine, because we're not really going to be going for effect damage. So what we're going to add here is the Gem Knight Dispersion, even though we already have one. We'll next activate Gem Knight Dispersion, since we already have a Gem Knight Fusion in our graveyard. We can use monsters from up to 2 monsters from our deck or extra deck, and 1 monster either in our hand or on our field. We'll go ahead and use that Nephirim that I was telling us about, and we'll use 2 more from our deck, which will be the Other Quartz and Hollow Core. If you really want to, you could utilize the ones in the extra deck, such as Ruby and Topaz, to allow you to go into what we're going to be going into. But we're going to be going into Gem Knight Master Dispersion. Master Dispersion has the fun effect of, during the main phase, you can send this card from the field to the graveyard, special summon up to 3 non-rock gem monsters with different names from your extra deck and or graveyard, ignoring their summoning conditions. Also, for the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters. So, what are we going to be summoning here? So, we'll go ahead and pop off with the Gem Knight Dispersion. Go into our Gem Knight Lady Rose Diamond. We'll also utilize this to go into our Gem Knight Topaz or Gem Knight Aquamarine. We'll do Aquamarine this time, along with Topaz instead of Ruby. We'll next activate the effect of Gem Knight Fusion, adding it back by banishing 1 Gem Knight card from our graveyard. We'll go ahead and banish Gem Knight Quartz to add Gem Knight Fusion. Then we'll activate the Gem Knight Fusion, fusing away our Tourmaline. Actually, we'll keep our Tourmaline around because there's an effect I want to utilize. And we're going to use our Aquamarine, our Quartz in hand, and our Seraphinite to go directly into our Gem Knight Lady Brilliant Diamond. We'll next go ahead and activate Gem Knight Fusion again, adding it back to hand by banishing. We will banish a Gem Knight Seraphinite to add it back to our hand. We'll next activate Phantom Quartz effect, allowing us to shuffle back 3. We're going to go ahead and shuffle back the Nephirim. One of the quartz, we'll probably do the one in banish instead of in graveyard. And then finally, as our final, we'll do a hollow core as well. Shuffle them back, and we can summon another monster. We'll go ahead and summon us a Master Diamond. We're not going to utilize his effect just yet. Next, we're going to assume that our opponent has activated a monster effect. We'll go ahead and banish the Hollow Core plus 3 other Gem Knight monsters, or just Gem monsters. Nope, 3 other Gem Knight cards from your graveyard, including this card. Negate that effect when they activate that card effect, and then everything gains 1,000 attack. So we'll go ahead and banish a Quartz and an Aquamarine as well, giving everything plus 1,000. Master Diamond does have lower attack, but that does not matter at this point. We will next go ahead and then activate Brilliant Diamond, tributing the Phantom Quartz, summon the Lady Lapis Lazuli. Once per turn, you can send one Gem Knight monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. If you do inflict 500 damage for each special summon monster on the board, we're going to have that. It's going to be about 250. However, we're going to send the Nephirim, burn for 500, which is perfectly fine. Because what we're going to utilize here is Nephirim affecting graveyard. We can send one card. You can send one card from hand or graveyard to the grave and then summon it. We're going to go ahead and send that Gem Knight Fusion. We'll then utilize that Gem Knight Fusion, adding it back to our hand by banishing us. I believe it has to be specifically a Gem Knight card. Yes, it does. So you cannot utilize Gem Armadillo in any way, just for those that are still listening. We'll go ahead and banish the Dispersion. This is perfectly fine because right now we can utilize other cards if we really want to. But we've effectively burned for 1500 damage here, given that we have 6 monsters on our board. But since the timing would be off, we would be by 250 off, so 1250. Depending on how many monsters our opponent controls, by special summon, we would inflict an additional 250. But we have a 3700 beater, 2800 beater that can attack twice. If it destroys a monster, can make a second attack during each battle phase. If this card destroys a monster while battle, sends to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to that monster's original attack. So 2800 twice, inflicting burn damage. So it'd be halved, that'd be 14 for each, well, not 14, but half the original monster's attack. And then this is plus, so it's already at 39 base. 4, 41, 42, 4200 attack. Swing with 42, swing with 44, and swing with 34. Right there, that is lethal if not already had been done. And then if we still live by any means, we have an infinite impermanence to set in our back row to further cause hindrance if needed. All right, let's go ahead and hop right on into our second hand. All right, for our next going second hand, let's see what we get. I almost forgot to shuffle up, but our next going second hand, we have Triple Tactics Talent, Triple Tactics Thrust, Gem Armadillo, Lightning Storm, and Ash Blossom. Let's see what our sixth and final draw is. Gem Knight Nephirim. So we are pretty well set. Let's go ahead and we would start off by activating Lightning Storm. Lightning Storm would then be able to destroy our opponent's monsters or back row if we don't want to deal with that either. In this case, since his deck doesn't really like to be really messed with, it's more dependent on what kind of negations or interactions they have on board. If they have a monster negation on board in the form of a monster that's in attack position, activate Lightning Storm. However, if they have more back row, I would recommend popping that. Next, we'll go ahead and normal summon the Gem Knight Nephirim. We'll go ahead and add us a Gem Knight card from our deck to our hand. In this case, we'll go ahead and add the Gem Knight Quartz. We'll then discard the Gem Knight Quartz, being able to activate the effect to set one continuous fusion spell directly from deck, but we are locked into, I believe, Gem Monsters, or Gem Knight Monsters. This is perfectly fine because our next case, and what we're going to be doing is a Scatter Fusion. Actually, in this case, we're going to say Brilliant Fusion because we probably popped all their opponent's monsters. We'll next activate Brilliant Fusion, allowing us to fuse into a Gem Knight Seraphonite by utilizing a Gem Knight monster and a Light monster. So, we will go ahead and then send, if I can find one, a Gem Knight Nephirim and the Gem Knight Quartz. We'll go ahead and trigger Quartz effect, adding us back the Nephirim. which is perfectly fine. We'll next go ahead and normal summon the Gem Knight Armadillo, or the Gem Armadillo, to allow us to add the Gem Knight Hollow Core. We'll then go activate Gem Knight Hollow Core effect, sending the Gem Knight Fusion from deck to grave, to then special summon the Gem Knight Hollow Core. We'll take the Gem Armadillo and Gem Knight Hollow Core to go directly into our Gem Knight Phantom Quartz. Phantom Quartz effect to get us an additional Gem Knight card from our deck to our hand. We'll go ahead and get that Gem Knight Dispersion. We'll next go ahead and activate that Gem Knight Dispersion by fusion summoning with the Gem Knight Nephirim on the board. And 2 monsters from our deck or extra deck. In this case, we're going to utilize from our extra deck this time. Sending a Aquamarine and a Gem Knight Master Dispersion, or Master Diamond Dispersion, because I run 2, to summon the next Gem Knight Master Dispersion. Gem Knight Master Dispersion effect during the main phase. Quick effect, tribute itself to summon 3 non-rock Gem Knight monsters. In this case, we'll go ahead and summon that Gem Knight Lady Rose Diamond, the Gem Knight Ruby, and the Gem Knight Topaz. From here, we will go ahead and activate the effect of Gem Knight Fusion in the graveyard to get us the card back to our hand, but we will banish a Gem Knight card in response to get it back. So we'll go ahead and banish that Gem Knight Quartz. Next, we'll activate the Gem Knight Fusion, fusing with our Gem Knight Nephirim in hand, our Gem Knight Seraphonite, and one other card that we do not want to utilize right now. We will go ahead and use our Gem Knight Topaz as well. We will go directly into our Lady Brilliant Diamond. We'll next activate the Gem Knight Fusion to banish a Nephirim to add Gem Knight Fusion back. However, since this card was sent to the graveyard, we'll go as a fusion material. We'll go ahead and special summon it back by sending a card from our hand to the graveyard. In this case, we'll send Thrust since we do not need it. So we'll do that prior to the actual Gem Knight activation because it must result after descent for a fusion. Must resolve after descent for a fusion, excuse me. We'll next activate Brilliant Diamond, tributing the Nephirim to summon a Lapis Lazuli. Notice that all our effects damage will be halved for the rest of this turn. We'll next activate Brilliant Diamond, or Phantom Quartz, not Brilliant Diamond. Phantom Quartz to shuffle back 3. We'll go ahead and shuffle back 1 Master Diamond. We'll go ahead and shuffle back the Nephirim and the Quartz from our graveyard back into our deck to summon us a Gem Knight Master Diamond. Once done, we have the capability of further burning for actually 1500 damage. We'll go ahead and activate Lady Lapis effect, sending us a Gem Knight card from our deck to the graveyard. And then being able to really utilize the effect, we'll go ahead and send that 1 Quartz back and burn for 1500 damage. We can now swing lethal for damage if we would like. However, if our opponent has activated for effect, we can still utilize the effect of Gem Knight Hollow Core in the graveyard by banishing it, plus 2 other Gem Knight cards, which could be the Aquamarine and the Quartz, to further boost everything by 1000 attack and swing for lethal. Or we could, which will negate the effect as well. However, in this case, we're going to state that they had no interruption. We can swing for 1450, 24, 27, 34. Master Diamond cannot swing, but it does gain the attack because Phantom Quartz cannot allow it to attack directly this turn. That is perfectly fine. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's got an additional 1,000 attack points, putting it to 39. However, you can tribute it. So we would tribute the Master Diamond to give the Ruby the extra attack, giving it 3,900 attack, boosting it to 6,400 attack. When it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent, which is perfectly fine because we're attacking for 64 either way, which would be lethal. Either way, guys, that's all that I have for this test hand. We'll go ahead and see what we can set up for going first. All right, let's go ahead and see what we can utilize now. So we'll go ahead, draw for our going first hand. We end up with Ash Blossom, Triple Tactics Thrust, Lightning Storm, Absorb Fusion, and Scatter Fusion. In this case, we are kind of a bit stuck, but we can still utilize this effect overall. We'll go ahead and use Absorb Fusion. We do not have to use the effect to basically fusion summon a monster, but we do get to add a Gem Knight card from our deck to our hand. We'll go ahead and add Nephirim. If our opponent goes ahead and activates that card effect, we can then use Thrust that we have in our hand. So we'll go ahead and activate that Triple Tactics Sounds Thrust, saying that our opponent's activated a Mulcharmy or another card. That is not preventing us to add the card, but we can set one normal spell or trap directly from our deck, or add it to our hand, but we're going to set it instead. For our normal spell, we're going to go ahead and set that Gem Knight Dispersion. Sadly, it cannot be activated this turn, but that is perfectly fine, because what are we going to be doing next? We're going to go ahead and activate, or normal summon Gem Knight Nephirim. Gem Knight Nephirim effect to add a Gem Knight card from your deck to your hand. In this case, we're going to go ahead and add that Gem Knight Quartz. We'll go ahead, discard the Gem Knight Quartz to go ahead and activate a Brilliant Fusion from our deck. We'll next activate Brilliant Fusion, sending the Nephirim and the Gem Knight Quartz to get us a Nephirim back into our hand to summon into our Seraphonite. Seraphonite then lets us get an additional normal summon if we wish to. But in this case, we're not going to utilize that effect just yet, because we're going to go ahead and take these two and go directly into our Gem Knight Phantom Quartz. Phantom Quartz effect will then trigger, allowing us to add a Gem Knight card. We'll go ahead and add that Gem Knight Hollow Core from our deck to our hand, in which we'll go ahead and then special summon that Gem Knight Hollow Core by banishing, or well, not banishing, but sending our Gem Knight Fusion from our deck to the graveyard. Next, for what we can do as a placeholder, we can go ahead and go directly into our Gem Knight Lady Rose Diamond using the Gem Knight Nephirim and Gem Knight Quartz by shuffling them back into our deck by paying 1,000. So we are at 7k. And note that we would have been at 7k for any of the other turns we went, because Gem Knight Quartz, to activate that effect, you have to pay the 1,000 as cost. We'll summon the Lady Rose Diamond. During your turn, when an opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, banish one Gem Knight card from your graveyard, target one face-up card your opponent controls, and destroy it. But in this case, we do not have that capability of really utilizing that effect. However, we will be using Gem Knight Fusion to banish the Seraphonite, allowing us to add it back to our hand. Then what we can do here, let's go ahead and activate that Gem Knight Fusion. Fusion summoning with Phantom Quartz, Hollow Core, and Nephirim in hand to go directly into our Master Diamond Dispersion. allowing us that effect. However, we have a effect engrave which we can utilize, which is Nephirim, allowing us to discard a card if we would like. In this case, we really do not want to, given that the cards in hand are pretty nice for board breaking next turn, and a interruption. So, in this case, we're going to go ahead and activate the Gem Knight Fusion effect to banish a card. We'll go ahead and banish that Gem Knight Phantom Court so it cannot be called by during our opponent's turn or during our next turn. This allows us a interaction during our opponent's turn where during the main phase we can tribute this card and summon 3. So we can summon the Aquamarine, the Ruby, the Topaz, or the Gem Knight Prismura if we would so like to do so. Overall, we still have the Ash Blossom for interaction, and then next turn follow-ups with the Scatter Fusion, Lightning Storm, and Gem Knight Fusion, just being able to allow us to further combo off as we need to. And then we have the Gem Knight Dispersion, if it does not get popped in the result, to go ahead and activate that during next turn, to where if we need to, we'll add that Gem Knight Fusion, and if we were to draw, we would probably need it because we would draw into the called by. So, overall, that is basically what we could do for the deck going first. However, it does give us a decent amount of interaction with our opponent, because even then we still have the Hollow Core effect at grave where we can banish it. It plus 2 other Gem Knight cards, including this, negate the effect and boost all our Gem Knights by 1,000. Anyways, guys, I hope you greatly enjoyed this test hand video today, and I will see you all in the next one.
Is it okay if I'm to say I'm catching feelings from all the dealings? Am I astray? What do you say? How are you feeling? Is it the same?